Well. Happy Tuesday. It's not Monday, but it is Tuesday. How are you ladies doing? I hope you're doing fantastic. I hope that you had a great weekend. And again, you can tell me about it. You can always write something in the comments there to let me know how your weekend went. I wish you could just call me, right? I just hope that you really took time for yourself and it's just to know how beautiful you are. And you know, that's my thing. My thing is always calling women beautiful because they're absolutely beautiful. I mean, I figured that when we go through so much as women, you know, with our children, our families, just everything that I'm always talking about, I just can't help it. I think that we're just beautiful beings and you're beautiful. And if no one else told you that today, I hope you know that I feel that you are. And I mean that from my heart, guys. I really do. So as I mentioned, today is Tuesday and this is starting the new week for this episode. Okay. So I hope that you're going to have your pen and paper, as I always mention, so that we can definitely talk about some things. So you are listening to the Estrogen Chronicles, Her Plate, Her Power, and I am your host, functional nutritionist, Gail Thorpe, at your service, and health detective, because I'm always trying to get to the bottom line of what's going on with your health. So what I want you to do is, I mentioned, grab your pen and your paper and have your tea and your coffee. And we're going to just have, hey, if you want to have some wine, you can have that too. And we're just going to have a good time and we're going to get into it. So the goal of the Estrogen Chronicles, again, is to always let you guys know that we can take back her plate. We can take back our plate through the power of nutrition. Okay? Because so many times we have so many things that we deal with, and a lot of times it can be helped through proper nutrition, proper relaxation, all that, stress management. So that's my goal, is to demystify the fact that we can be healthy. We can do things for prevention. And if we happen to be going through things already, we can do things to help in that manner too. So I try to tackle different topics each week that definitely, of course, applies to us as women, in hopes that you guys can really get a grasp of what's going on with yourselves. Of course, this does not take the place of going to your healthcare professional, your doctor. Okay. I'm not saying that. I definitely, talk about that always in my episodes, but it can give you a good starting board of what possibly could be going on, so that you're better equipped to talk to the doctor also. Okay, ladies. So today we're going to talk about yeast infections. Now, this is very common. Very, very common. I think just about every woman at some point or another have experienced it. But a lot of times we get confused about it. Is it a bacterial vaginosis, or is it actually a yeast infection? What could be done for it? Right? So many different things. But it's not a very pleasant thing to have, right? We know that because of the way it feels, because it may also accompany odor as well. So these are just some of the things that will happen, but we need to know how we can either eradicate it, control it, or if it gets to a point where it becomes very severe, we need to get it checked out. So a yeast infection, which is also known as vaginal candidiasis. And that happens when there is an overgrowth of candida, a type of fungus normally present in the vagina in small amounts. It's part of your body's natural microbiome. But when the balance is disturbed, the candida multiplies and causes irritation and inflammation. Okay? All right. So why do you get it? Why does that happen? So basically, with the yeast overgrowth, it usually occurs when the vagina or the vaginal flora is disrupted, or when immunity is lowered. So common triggers include antibiotics. Okay. They kill healthy bacteria like lactobacillus, and that keeps your yeast in check. High sugar diet. The yeast actually feeds on the high sugar diet. Hormonal changes like pregnancy or having birth control, taking birth control or menopause. Tight or non-breathable clothing, which also traps in moisture. If you're douching or scented products. A weakened immune system, high stress, or poor sleep. Now, you've heard me talk a lot about a lot of these things because remember, with all of these different things, you notice that there's always common things too, like stress is a common thing, lack of sleep is a common thing, immunity issues is a common thing. So what does that mean? That means that these are things that we could really help. By certain adjustments that we do in our life, we can really help to bring our immune system better, to make it better. We can help definitely with the stress management and, of course, the lack of sleep, right? Because that's when the body prepares itself. It rejuvenates itself, right? But we can do it if we start to do it. That's the key. So now some of the symptoms that you would have with yeast infection is itching and burning. So like a type of irritation in the vagina or the vulva. You're going to have the white, thick cottage cheese-like discharge. You'll have the redness and swelling. You'll have pain during intimacies or urination. And sometimes a yeasty or bread-like odor that you may have. We talked about a few seconds ago about yeast infections often generate a type of odor, right? So most of the time we don't want to deal with that. We do not want to deal with that. Any type of odor going on down there. And we've talked about also how it's important to keep that right type of pH balance, right? And we do that by taking a probiotic for your vagina area. Okay. And that is in a few episodes back. If you want to take a look at that so you can understand a little bit more about how the pH, when that changes, how that disrupts your vaginal microbiome. And the last episode we talked about your gut and how that's tied into changing your vaginal microbiome. So definitely take a look at those episodes so that you can have a better understanding. Okay? Now, as I always mention to you, sometimes symptoms start to be alike. And you may think, okay, I have this, but I'm not sure if I have that, and sometimes we may not even want to see a doctor because we're thinking, well, maybe I just have a little infection. I can get rid of it. But sometimes it's warranted that you see a doctor. So I always like to bring up a lot of times when it's time to see one. So this way you know you don't want to waste any time with any type of infections, whether it's down there, whether it's on your leg, whatever it is. You don't want to waste any time with any type of infection. So you should see your doctor if it's your first time having these symptoms. Okay? So if you have never had them before and this is starting to go on, you want to see the doctor. Okay? And you're also unsure if it's a yeast or is it a bacterial vaginosis. What's going on? Right? So the doctor can actually rule out which one it is. If you had 4 or more yeast infections in a year, okay, now that could be considered chronic candida. Okay, and some women tend to have it several times in a year. Okay. So for those ladies who are listening to this podcast right now and you happen to be one of them, you need to definitely make sure that you're seeing a medical professional to see why that's happening. Or definitely take some of the clues here that we're going to be talking about in reference to this. Okay? Because you don't want that to keep happening. But a lot of times it does. Okay? If you're pregnant, you can get yeast infections if you are pregnant. All right? And over-the-counter treatments really do not help, to be honest with you. Now, there are a lot of over-the-counter treatments. You see them all the time when you go into stores, drugstores, CVS, for instance. No disregard to CVS, but I'm just saying as a drugstore, you'll see a lot of times different things you can take. But again, if you're not really sure what it is and you're taking something over the counter, it may make it worse. Okay? So that's why you want to make sure to have it ruled out and that you're getting the proper treatment that's needed. Now, if you have fever or pelvic pain or a very foul-smelling discharge, yes, absolutely, you want to see your gynecologist because that's a female doctor, and it could be a man or a woman, your choice, but you want to go and see one because they handle that part of your body. Okay? So what the doctor will do to test to make sure and rule out what this is. They, of course, would do a pelvic exam. They will actually do a vaginal swab, okay? That helps to identify yeast under a microscope. They will also do a culture test to see which species of the candida is present, because there are different species, okay? And they'll also do a pH test. All right? Because, for instance, the bacterial vaginosis tends to raise a vaginal pH balance. And we talked about that, like I said, a few episodes back, guys. So you want to get more information about that, take a look at that. I mentioned that. So some of the things that the doctor will actually do for treatment, he will recommend an antifungal cream. It could be a suppository, okay? And he may also she may also recommend an oral antifungal medication. Okay? And prescription if reoccurrent. So a longer antifungal course or suppressive therapy. So if it's longer, they're going to actually give a prescription for a certain amount of time frame, especially if you tend to have it reoccurrent. Because sometimes, again, I mentioned about this last week when it comes down to taking antibiotics, right? So whether it's antibiotics, antifungal, it's all around the same thing. When you have something that's recurrent and you're constantly taking different medications like antibiotics or antifungals, sometimes that's why it's so important to find the right strain, because sometimes it may not work. And that's another reason why using things that you get over the counter at a drugstore or a store may not actually help you, even if you have yeast infection, because we have to first make sure that it's identified which species it is, okay? And to make sure that the course of treatment, because like I said, it could be a one-time thing, or maybe you're someone who has a reoccurrent, okay? And there are some things that can cause that to be a reoccurrent, and that's taking back your plate moment in just a few seconds, okay? So those are things that are important that you want to take a look at. Okay. Now, actually, ladies, if you give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, ladies, I am back. Okay. So, like I mentioned to you, when it comes down to yeast infections or bacterial vaginosis, how do you know the difference? So the cause of yeast is when you have an overgrowth, like I mentioned, of the candida fungus. And with bacterial vaginosis, you're going to have an overgrowth of anaerobic bacteria. Okay? Now, for discharge, You're going to have, when it comes down to yeast infections, you're going to have a thick, white, clumpy discharge. And with bacterial vaginosis, it's going to be thin, it's going to be gray-like, and a milky white type of discharge. Okay? Now, when it comes to odor, with a yeast infection, you'll have either the smell of yeast, as I mentioned to you, or you may have none, to be honest. But when it comes down to BV, I'm going to say, you're going to have a fishy, especially after intimacy odor. And then for the pH, now when it comes down to yeast infection, you'll have a normal pH, which is anywhere from 4.0 to 4.5. But with BV, it's going to be higher. It's going to be 4.5 and higher. And when it comes to itchiness, okay, you'll have with yeast, it'll be pretty intense when it comes down to itchiness, but when it comes down to BV, it's going to be basically mild or none. Now, when it comes down to treatment, again, with yeast, it's going to be antifungal, and when it comes down to BV, it's going to be antibiotics, okay? So this will give you a good pulse on what could be happening with you and the differences of the two. Okay? Now, I hope you ladies wrote that down because that's important. Now, there are some natural home treatments that you can do to help to balance the yeast, soothe discomfort. Okay? But you always ensure your doctor has ruled out that it's not BV or other infections first. Okay? So you can do plain probiotic yogurt. All right? You could actually insert or apply topically for a cooling relief because, again, you're going to have a lot of itching. It's going to be pretty intense, and that actually helps to calm it down. Okay? But you got to be careful. You don't want to put a lot, just a little bit to calm it down. Okay? You can do coconut oil. That acts as an antifungal. And you want to apply that externally, not inside, externally. And then tea tree oil. You want to dilute heavily before applying. So you want to do 1 drop and a tablespoon carrier oil. Okay? Nothing too hard. You can also try apple cider vinegar baths. Okay? A half cup in a lukewarm bath for 10 to 15 minutes. And then you want to make sure to avoid sugar, alcohol, and refined carbs during the healing process. So these are some of the things that you can do at home. Just 1 second, ladies. I'm sorry. Okay, ladies, I am back. It's been a little busy in the office today, so I do apologize for the interruptions. Okay, so helpful supplements that you can do. We talked about some home things that you can do at home. Once it's been ruled that this is what you have, and that you also want to make sure that the doctor's okay with you doing some of these different things that I mentioned to you, and also with the supplements, right? Because that's always a big thing for me. Because if you're taking any other kind of medications, you always want to double check to make sure that that's okay for you to do. Okay, now probiotics with lactobacillus and acidophilus, right? Those are probiotics that is geared towards the vagina area. Okay, because there's different type of bacterias, some for the gut and some for the vagina. And those are the ones that you want to have for the vagina. Okay? And then caprylic acid. And that acts as a natural antifungal, which comes from coconut oil. Okay? You also can do oregano oil capsules. Now, these are actually powerful antifungal, and you want to make sure, though, you want to use with caution. Like I said, if you're taking any kind of medications, sometimes that oregano may, because it's so strong, it may not do well with the medications, right? So you want to be careful about that. Garlic extract, or an aged garlic, which helps supports immune and antifungal activity. And then vitamin C and zinc, which help to boost your immunity. Okay? So these are some things that you can do to help with this problem at home that you may have. Okay? after it's been ruled out. So now we're going to get to the point of us taking back our plate. Okay? Because like I said, whatever the condition is, there's always some type of nutritional value that you can eat, possibly drink, that will help you. And things that we need to stay away from. We'll talk about that in a moment. But foods that help to prevent yeast infections. So incorporate more plain Greek yogurt or kefir in your nutritional plan. Again, I'm not a diet person saying diet. I like to say lifestyle nutrition. So incorporating that more. Fermented foods like sauerkraut or kimchi or miso. Okay. Leafy greens like broccoli, zucchini, and avocado. We just mentioned garlic. Okay. Onion, ginger, and turmeric. And then coconut oil and olive oil. These are healthy fats with antifungal properties. And then pumpkin seeds, chia, and flax seeds. These are things that can help to prevent you from possibly getting yeast infections. So you want to try to incorporate these things more in your diet. Now, things that will trigger the growth of yeast. Okay? Numero uno, sugar. All forms, so whether it's cane, honey, agave, or any kind of syrups, sugar actually helps to trigger and actually the yeast feeds off of it. Okay? So if you have a high sugar diet, all right, a lot of sugar. Again, I'm not saying not to have anything sugar, because sometimes you want to have a little piece of pie. It's okay. But sometimes having it too much is not a good thing. And if you're a person that tends to be susceptible to yeast infections or even, bacterial vaginosis, you want to kick it in the butt. You want to not have it as much, right? You want to definitely keep, tame yourself from that. So sugar is definitely a big one. Okay. White bread and pastas and pastries, again, part of the sugar, because that starts to convert to sugar. Okay. In your body. Alcohol. Hi, I'm always talking about alcohol. I guess you're probably saying, gosh, every time I'm listening to her, she's talking about alcohol. I love my alcohol sometimes. Listen, guys, everything is in moderation. No one should be encouraged to be an alcoholic, of course, but sometimes if you tend to be a social drinker and you go out a lot, right? You'd be surprised. A couple of glasses of even wine sometimes can be too much for you and your body when you're especially susceptible to things like what I'm talking about. So you want to definitely cut back on that, right? And just do it when you went to a big event like a wedding and you want to enjoy yourself. But if it's too much, you want to definitely stop, because now things are going to start to happen. Processed or fried foods. Okay? Always never a good thing for us, no matter how we slice it. Dairy with added sugars or flavors. Dairy, it can be a big one, right? And dried fruits, which are very high in natural sugars. So you see, sugar is definitely a key factor when it comes down to yeast infections. Okay? So it actually, like I said, it feeds off of it. It helps to encourage and trigger its growth. So if you have a high sugar diet, you want to make sure and cut back. Okay? Cut back. That's important. All right, ladies. So now, what can we do to help us as we're dealing with this problem? What kind of juice can we take? Is there something out there? Absolutely. I always give you guys a gift. No matter what I am talking about, I'm going to always have some kind of recipe, whether it's a juice recipe, whether it's a smoothie recipe, or possibly even a dinner or lunch or breakfast recipe. I'm going to have something. And I do that mainly because I don't want you just listening to this, but I want you to listen and I want you to start. Start immediately to whatever it is I'm talking about, whatever it is that you may be dealing with that I'm talking about. I don't want it to be just, I'm taking notes, but I want you to take notes and I want you to start. Okay, start to feel better. So this will be our Candida Cleanse juice. All right. And what we're going to do, we're going to do a half cucumber. And we're going to do 1 green apple. Okay. Now, this can be optional because if you're dealing with having the yeast infection, we know that sometimes even the sugar, for a little bit of that can be a little much sometimes. It depends. So if you want to have a little taste of a little sweetness, you can do it. But if not, you can just not put it in there. Okay. 1 cup of spinach. 1 small lemon that happens to be peeled. 1-inch piece of fresh ginger. 1 clove of garlic. And remember, the garlic is a powerful antifungal. I know you're saying, oh my God, garlic to the juice? Yucks. That's nasty. I know that's what you're saying. How do I not know that you're thinking that right now? Because I know. But you know what, guys, again, this is important, right? So we want to eradicate this. We want to get rid of it. We don't want to keep it on us. So, a half teaspoon of turmeric powder, or you can also do the fresh root, and then 1 cup of coconut water. Okay. Now, you know what I'm going to say next, that everything needs to be organic. We don't need any pesticides, right? We don't need any pesticides. We don't need any extra fillers, anything. We want things to be as fresh as possible and as organic as possible. So we want to wash all of the ingredients well. We want to go ahead and juice or blend this until it's smooth. And we want to drink immediately on an empty stomach. Preferably, we want to do it in the morning when all of the nutrients can get right into our system and start to do the work. Okay? Now, why do these ingredients help us with this particular Candida cleanse? So the cucumber is high in water and silica, which helps to flush toxins through the kidneys and support hydration. And that is key when your body is trying to clear excess yeast. So also, we want to stay hydrated, right? We want to keep flushing out our system, okay? So proper hydration also helps maintain mucosal moisture in the vaginal and digestive tracts, making it harder for Candida to adhere and to multiply. Isn't that something? Pretty powerful stuff, right? Okay. Now the green apple, which is a gentle fiber and a mild sweetness. The green apples are lower in sugar, okay? Very low compared to the red apple, but even if it's that little bit, if you're scared to put that little bit in there, you don't have to have it, but it is lower, right? Just to give it a little sweetness, okay? But it's rich in pectin. And that's a prebiotic fiber that helps to feed beneficial gut bacteria. Remember, the last episode, we talked about the correlation between the gut and the vagina. Okay? You guys gonna start to realize more lately, as you start listening to the different episodes, how everything is so tied in together. It is so tied in together. So that's why when one thing's off, it throws off the other thing, or vice versa, right? So we know that if we really listen to our bodies and we get the proper treatments, we can feel better. We can feel better. We don't have to deal with these type of things. Okay? So fiber helps feed beneficial gut bacteria, as I was saying, and this balance supports a healthy microbiome. And when your gut flora are strong, Candida has a harder time overgrowing. Okay? That's important. Like I mentioned last week, that gut is our second brain, as we say in the medical field. So it's really important that we get that together. Okay? All right. We're talking about spinach. So that happens to be very alkalizing and also nutrient dense. So spinach helps to alkalize the body, making it less acidic, and yeast loves acidity environments. It's also rich in magnesium, folate, and iron, which support energy, detoxification, and immune resilience during healing. Okay? And lemon, which happens to be antimicrobial, and it helps give us liver support. So lemon is a powerhouse for liver detox and immune function. The vitamin C and natural acids help to reduce candida biofilm, which is the protective layer yeast forms to survive. So lemon also gently lowers the pH in the gut to a healthy range that supports lactobacillus, your body's own yeast-fighting bacteria. Like I mentioned to you, lactobacillus is definitely for our V-spot. And we got to make that strong. And then ginger, which happens to be antifungal and also anti-inflammatory. So ginger's compounds, especially the gingerol, have a direct antifungal effects that helps to reduce inflammation from yeast irritation. It also improves circulation, digestion, and supporting your body's ability to process waste and maintain balance. Okay? You see how foods can actually either make you or break you. And then we talk about garlic, which we already know. That's a potent antifungal and immune booster. With garlic now, it's one of nature's strongest natural antifungals. Thanks to the allicin, a compound that kills candida cells directly. It also helps strengthen your immune system so your body can fight yeast naturally. If you find raw garlic too strong, start with a half clove or use a small amount of an aged garlic extract. So garlic is extremely important, right? It actually helps to rid the candida right out of the body. And then we're talking about turmeric, which is also anti-inflammatory, and it gives the microbial support that we need. So with turmeric, its active compound is curcumin, which helps to calm inflammation, especially in the gut lining. It also works synergistically, I can't talk right, with ginger and garlic to reduce fungal overgrowth and promote a balanced microbiome. And coconut water. Who loves coconut water? I know I do. That helps with hydration and is also not natural antifungal. Did you even know that? It actually is. So with coconut water, it helps provide electrolytes for rehydration, and plus it gives small amounts of the caprylic acid. A natural antifungal compound that damages yeast cells' membranes immediately, and it also gently alkalizes and refreshes. So together, these ingredients actually reduce yeast-friendly acid and support liver detoxification. It hydrates tissues to flush toxins. It provides natural antifungal compounds. It supports beneficial gut bacteria. It reduces inflammation and irritation. So this juice actually is targeted not just for the yeast, but is helping your whole ecosystem to rebalance itself. So that's pretty powerful. I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm thinking, like that drink needs to be, as soon as you have any sign of this, once it's ruled out that you have it, that needs to be the drink that you want to have. That needs to be the juice that you want to do. All right, guys. So today we talked about yeast infections. We talked about the importance of, first of all, what is a yeast infection? What happens with it? We talked about the symptoms of yeast infection. We talked about the difference between yeast infections and bacterial vaginosis. And I wanted to bring that out because both of them are very common. Both of them are very common, but you need to understand the difference between the two. Okay. We talked about when it's time to see your medical professional. What are some of the things that they're going to do when you go into the office? What are the recommended treatments for you as well? And we talked about some natural things that you can do at home. One of the most important things that we talked about is how to take back your plate when it comes down to yeast infections, the foods that you need to have, and the foods that you need to avoid. Okay? And we talked about a powerful juice that helps to prevent yeast infections and all of the different ingredients and why. Why do the ingredients actually help you? Okay? So we covered a lot of great things today when it comes down to yeast infections. And like I said, I like to have fun with you guys. I most importantly like to teach you guys about our bodies and how we can apply natural things to help us to feel better, possibly help us to prevent or even to eradicate what we're dealing with, right? That's so important, guys. Okay? All right, guys. So now, with that being said, and I want to say thank you too, because twice I had to put you on pause because my phone was ringing. It's been a little busy in the office today. So thank you for being so understanding as well. Okay. Now, in order for me to continue these awesome episodes, because I'm giving you guys some great information, I know, because I try my best to research as much as I can to give you what you need, and also things that I deal with my clients, right? So, in order for this to continue, you have to share. You want to share this out to your friends and to your family. You want to make sure that you subscribe. You want to make sure that you like. If you want to give a comment, that's great too. It helps with the algorithm. But that's so that we can get this out there. Wouldn't you agree that this information is extremely important for women? I hope so, because a lot of times when you go to your gynecologist or even your regular practitioner, your regular physician, they may not really break out some of the things that I talk about, especially when it comes down to nutrition, especially when it comes down to some natural remedies that you can do, and the symptoms of things. A lot of times, I hate to say, but this is true, doctors probably spend about 5 to maybe 7 minutes with you when you go see them. Next time you go, time it yourself. I'm not lying. They actually do. So a lot of times, especially when it comes down to our health, it can be embarrassing sometimes when we're talking about odor, we're talking about discharge, or, being hormonal in our moods. It's a lot. And sometimes we don't want to talk about it because we're kind of embarrassed maybe. We know that we're dealing with different things, but my goal is to cover topics that we are afraid to probably talk about. I also want to be able to teach you different things about what you're dealing with and what are the symptoms so that you can know the difference and what are some of the things you can do for prevention or maintenance, right? So that's the goal here at Estrogen Chronicles, is to definitely do that. But the most important thing also is to talk about how you can take back your plate through proper nutrition. Okay? So again, in order for all of this information, all this great information to get out there, it has to be shared among as many people as possible. So please do me that favor and share, like and subscribe so that you know when the next episode comes. You always hear me say that wellness is not just a focus, but it's a lifestyle, because it really is a lifestyle. As you know, you hear me talk about, I don't like to mention anything about personally diet. It's not about diet. It's about lifestyle nutrition, right? Because hopefully you'll have a nice long life and you want to know proper nutrition that's going to help you with different things that you may encounter in your life, especially as a woman. So forget about the diets, because there's about 1 million different diets. We're about doing things naturally. We're about doing things proper, the right way. So we don't want to harm ourselves, right? Because you're too beautiful. to want to harm yourself. You're too beautiful, right? So anyway, it is a lifestyle. Just remember that, okay? So we want to make sure that when we're talking about these different things, that we're not looking at it so much as a diet, but as a lifestyle change. And your health is your wealth, because without proper health, having trillions and trillions of dollars means absolutely nothing, okay? You want to not only be here, but you want to be here healthy, okay? And my last thing I want to say to you guys is that if you're dealing with yeast infections, especially recurrent yeast infections, and you've been confirmed that that's what you're dealing with all the time, and you're tired of it, because it can happen. You know, it happens a lot with BV as well. It can be recurrent. And you're looking for a partnership where you can understand the eating process, understand the different things that you need to take that can help your body to naturally rid it of the yeast. That's what I'm here for as a functional nutritionist. I get to the bottom line of different things that you're dealing with, so I can test for different things. Maybe you're genetically predisposed to having yeast infections a lot, right? But you're not going to get that type of testing at a doctor's office. So that's where you come to me. So I can test for that type of thing. I can test for to see what your body's predisposed based upon your genes. Maybe it's BV, who knows? But I can test for those different things, right? And I can give you a customized program, a customized nutritional program that's going to help you in only you. It's going to be just for you. And not to mention, I can provide the supplementations as well. How about that, guys? A lot of good stuff. And let me mention this to you. Something that's new at Nutrition You Design. So, as I mentioned, I can provide well over 300 different practitioner-based supplementations for you that you won't be able to see in the stores. You have to know someone like me, okay? But now I also provide a customized, hear me out good, a customized supplement just for you. Okay, so let's say that you're a person that you want to take a multivitamin, but you can't take D's and you can't take vitamin C. I'm just using an example, even though I hope you can, because those are important. But sometimes people cannot, right? I can actually build a customized supplementation just for you based on your test results that you take with me. Which one of those test results will be the micronutrient test, right? So I can add to your supplementation, or I can take things away, but it's going to be custom just for you. So now, not only are you going to get the opportunity to have a customized meal plan, now you have the opportunity to also have customized supplements based on your unique DNA, based on your unique genetics, based on your unique needs, right? So talk about personalized lifestyle help. Hello. So that's new. I'm excited about it. You'll learn more about it in weeks to come, but I want to let you know about that as well, that I can provide that for you as well. Now, of course, if you, opt to just do the standardized, I have practitioner-based supplements as well, as I just mentioned. So you see how important it is to know someone like me? All right now. So you want to go to www.nutritionudesign.com. You want to go on there. You want to book a session with me, guys. And when we have the session, we can discuss all of the different things that's needed, and what type of testings, all of that good stuff. But you want to book that session with me, go ahead. You don't want to ever put a price tag on your health, guys. You never want to do that, okay? And these days and times, it's so important to get to the bottom line of what's going on with you, right? Because so many people that are younger are just having major problems, major heart problems. Cancer is rampant. I mean, so much is going on. So when you start to deal with different problems that you can help, get some help on, you want to do it. So please go to www.nutritionnewdesign.com, book a session with me, and then we'll take it from there. All right, guys. So I think that I've talked enough. I like to have fun with you. I hope you like to laugh as much as I do. I'm just real. I'm here, and this is how I am when you become my client. We have fun. I'm serious too now. Let's not get that twisted. But we have fun at the same time because life is so short, and you want to enjoy things while you can. That's part of also stress management, right? Okay. So with that being said, guys, I hope that you enjoy the rest of the day. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of the week. Until next time, be blessed.